Hello and welcome to John's Author Diary for the weekend in November the 11th, 2018. I've had a busy week. I wrote the first draft to the Hierophant, which is the 6th novella in my Ravenglass Chronicles series. And so I've already started doing the second draft rewrites of that. I found a lot of resistance going into this because the story's set on a ship, and I think on Monday I wrote something like 400 words. Bear in mind on Tuesday I wrote 4,500 words. That gives you an idea of the difference in word count. And what I found really helped was I watched a few videos on YouTube that were tours of ships. So I've been doing a thing where I've been reading fantasy novels and nautical novels just to kind of get that feel for being on a boat. And there was just something that wasn't quite clicking. And so looking at these tours of things like the HMS Victory and these old sailing ships have really helped me just to get more of a feel and a picture and the details of the boat. So one thing that I found really useful was in a video I watched about HMS Victory. It talked about the food, the type of meals that were being served. And there was the idea that some of the biscuits would often be filled with weevils and maggots and absolutely disgusting. So I've managed to get those little details now into the story. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that I've done this story. This is the one I was least confident about in the series, just because I know that I want to do it right. And so if you listen back to these diaries, you'll have heard I've gone to all these nautical novels and been to the Maritime Museum, and I live in a coastal town, so going to look at even things like modern lifeboats and being out on the beach and the jetty and things like that, just to get a feel for the physicality of the wind and the rain against you, the sound of the waves and the feeling of salt on your skin. So I'm hoping to get the second draft of that done over the next week. On Friday, I did the Stop Booking Around podcast with R.J. Barker. Now, I mentioned him a few months ago because I read his trilogy, which had books like The Age of Assassins and Blood of Assassins, King of Assassins, that kind of thing. And so I really wanted to get him on to talk about meaningful fight scenes and how to work with violence in a novel. So I'm hoping that the listeners will get a lot from that. I know I did. He was just a really nice guy to talk to as well, so that was good. That'll be out on Tuesday. And then with the other podcast, the Otaku on Writing, we're about to do our brainstorm episode based on the anime series Dominion Tank Police. Now, this series was completely insane, and I have no idea how we're going to do it. I'm actually fearing this episode because there was so much stupidity in this series. For example, one of the main storylines was a pair of cat girls who were also strippers, needed to steal vats of urine from a hospital, and in order to stop the tank police from getting them, they set landmines, which weren't landmines, they were actually giant self-inflating dildos. So I don't know what kind of story we are going to write based on this. I am deeply scared. I fear that we're going to end up in some kind of terrible erotica category or something. So I'm hoping we can find a way to rein it in a little bit. I had some annoying news in terms of my Blind Gambit audiobook. So quite a few months ago, I agreed to go with a audio production company to produce the book, and it looks like I'm going to have to put the book back out for audition because the narrator has basically missed the deadlines for submitting the first 15 minutes, and the production company aren't having any luck working with that narrator and have taken him off their books. So that means more work for me. So I don't know, I might hold off for a little bit, maybe re-approach it in the new year. There is a narrator that I want, so I might contact him directly and see whether we can work something out. In terms of reading, I've read a book this week called Jareg by Stephen Bruce. This was a fantasy novel, very cool story, told from the point of view of an assassin. I've also been listening to a Great Courses series of lectures on covert operations and espionage. So without giving too much away, I was doing research on maritime stuff for one story. Now I'm doing stuff about assassins and espionage. I don't know if you can make connections there between where my Ravenglass Chronicles serial is going. Had some old friends from Leeds come across to stay this weekend, so that was really good. We spent this morning watching Inside Out, the Pixar movie, and I'd never seen it before, and if you've not seen it, I would recommend watching it because it is one of those films that gets you with a really nice emotional gut punch. I've watched that film a few times now, and I think I basically need to go back to it again and study it and pick it apart in terms of structure and how it's working because it is such a wonderful film. So I've had no questions this week, but if you want to send me a question, it's at JLCronshaw on Twitter, or you can email me, it's john@johncronshaw.com. So until next time, cheerio.